Welcome to the Princess Cruises Plain Sailing webinar with our new Auto Add Air feature, making your life as easy as possible with Princess Cruises. Some of the new features with Auto Add Air include automatically suggested flights. We now offer you three options: recommended flight, which is a balance between price and comfort. We offer the lowest price, which is obviously the most cost-effective itinerary, and the shortest flight, the shortest route available. We also now include a total price of a cruise and air package pricing. This includes your taxes, fees, port charges, and all optional packages or services. You can now also book your cruise and flights at the same time with just one click. Let's go to the live demonstration. So with Princess Cruises, we now select Create Booking. Let's select our departure airport. Now here, a fundamental change is that we will now always select Yes to Air. So if you do require flights, at this stage you will request Yes to Air. I'll pop the cruise number in. And now we can go ahead and search for our cruise. Okay, so at the product line here, we can see we're looking for cruise number G634. This is departing on the 15th of October this year. It's a 7-night sailing round trip from New York. Let's go ahead and select our category. So I'll select a balcony stateroom here, and we'll save and continue. You'll see from here our costing screen that we can now go ahead and launch our plain sailing tool. This will now automatically search for flights which will relate directly to the cruise that we've selected. Okay, so here we have our suggested flights. So as I mentioned, we have a recommended flight, which is the balance between price and comfort. We've got the outbound section here, Heathrow to JFK, and then the return sector here, JFK to Heathrow. We also then have the lowest price option, the most cost-effective itinerary, and then we can also have a choice of the shortest flight. So if we go back to the recommended flight, you can see here that we brought up two options of our fare types. We have our flexible fare pricing and our restricted fare pricing. We can also see here that the sea cruise and air price will actually bring up the total package pricing. So this now shows the cruise total, including your taxes, fees, port expenses, and all optional packages or services. We can show further details of these flight options. We can have a closer look at the fare restrictions. So the flexible and restricted fare options, we can gain the full information of those fare types here, both flexible and restricted. And then we can have a look at the baggage fees too. When we select the baggage fees, this would then relate directly then to the airline information. If we did want to look at alternative flight information, other than the recommended flight, lowest price or shortest flight options, you'll see that it says more flight options below. If I scroll down here, this will now bring up various different options relating to our outbound fare, our outbound flight, but also offering a round trip price here. On the left-hand side here, you can see filters available to you. This will help sort your flight options into a preferable order. If, for example, I would prefer to look at some non-stop flight options, I can select here non-stop. Here we go. So our first option here is the Virgin Atlantic flight to JFK. And again, we can have a look at more details, the fare restrictions and the baggage fees still available to us. If we go ahead and select our flexible fare at $559.35, that will select the outbound flight for us. So you'll see at the top here, my departure flight has now been saved for us with a round trip fare here. When I scroll down, We can then look at the return fare, the return flights, and you'll see that the flight pricing here is additional at £0. Of course, as I mentioned, at the top here we have our round trip price already saved. This flight offering us at £0 is leaving at 10:30 p.m. If I was to scroll down, we will be able to see some alternative flight options where necessary. For example, if I wanted an earlier flight, there's a flight here leaving at 9:30 for an additional £47.52. If I was to select that flight, it will then update the fare accordingly. So now we can review our selected flights, our outbound flight and our return flight, and here it mentions that we have a flexible fare and our adult pricing at £606.87. If I go ahead and continue, it will then bring up our flight disclaimers. We will need to read these carefully and select that we have read and understood and accept the above conditions. If at this stage we had taken the option of a restricted fare, it would also let you know that you would have to accept the terms and conditions of that restricted fare, and that full credit card payments would have to be taken on this booking within 45 minutes to secure the flights. From here, we've now saved our flights. If we select Save and Continue, this will then bring our saved flights directly into Polar. You can see here that the air cost has now been added into Polar Online. And we've got our total cost here per person and the gross fare for the total cruise booking. If we go ahead and save and continue, we can now then go ahead and make our cruise booking as per normal. We'll select our stateroom, and then we can pop in all of our passenger details. Now, it is important to remember that at this particular stage, we must ensure that we do enter all of our passenger details correctly as per the passport. And I'll put in the second passenger details here. Okay, so our names are selected here as per the passport. The reason why, as I mentioned, that this needs to be put in as per the passport is because once we select Book Now, this will not only book the cruise, but it will also book the flights as well. So with one simple click, Book Now, this will now confirm our flights and our cruise in one simple step. On the next screen, whilst that saves, we will be able to view our booking reference, review our flight information and our cruise information as well. So we can see at the top here we've got our booking reference. If we scroll down, we can see here that we actually have our flexible fare confirmed, round trip, and that's all booked for us. If at any stage we want to go in and check this flight information, we can relaunch our plain sailing, as so. There we go. Okay, so I'll cross that off. Now, one thing to be very sure of here is that if we have booked a restricted fare at this stage, we must ensure that the full payment for a restricted flight is entered directly into Polar Online. So simply by selecting down here, credit card payment, we can then go in and put in our credit card details for our customer. So very important that when booking a restricted fare, we must ensure that the full credit card payment is selected and is processed through Polar Online. If we don't put this payment information within 45 minutes, then a restricted air flight will be cancelled. So it is very important that at this stage we do enter those credit card payment details when booking a restricted fare. So as an overview, just to recap, Auto Add Air, we can literally search for our cruise on Polar Online, selecting Yes to Air. We launch plain sailing from that pricing screen. We will then search for all the flight options available to match your chosen cruise. We simply save the flight, and then we go ahead and book the cruise and the flight with just one click. So, as a recap, plain sailing, Auto Add Air. It's now easy to use. It gives you, our travel agents, ultimate control. It's convenience and peace of mind. It's obviously providing one point of contact. We also offer delayed arrival protection, and we do offer competitive prices. Thank you very much for your time today watching our Plain Sailing Auto Add Air webinar, and we do hope that this really does help you streamline your flight booking process with Princess Cruises. Thank you very much.